Share. All right, and here we are. So, this is a 1986 Mercedes W126, or actually a C126 500 SEC Coupe. It's the AMG 6-liter 4-valve conversion with the wide body. And this car is listed for auction on December 8th, so in a couple of weeks. And I just thought I would go through the pictures and just see. There have been some things that I think are remarkable about this car, but also some things that don't really quite make sense to me. So we're just going to start going through these pictures. This is the first one, I guess. And we can already see that I'm not sure about the exhaust. If that's the original one, it seems like it looks a little bit different, but not going to get into that. But what I will get into is this right here, the side skirts. So it says actually, I will read through the description after I'm done with the pictures. But it does actually have the rear AMG bumper. It does have the front AMG bumper, but it does not have the side skirts, which to me is the first thing that kind of, caught my eye, and I was really curious about it. The current owner, has had the car since 2004, and it says that it has been through a major service recently, which involved the valve cover gaskets, and that's another thing that is one of the details that I found, really not up to snuff. I'm gonna zoom in here, and then we can see that right here we can see some. Basically some sealant that's kind of, this is the valve cover, and this is the cylinder head, and there's just some sealant coming out of here, which, is not the most beautiful thing to do. I guess that could have been done better, could have been done nicer. Normally you would clean that up, you would make it look real nice, especially with a car like this that's estimated to sell for over $500,000. I think this is not really the way it should look. Also, something I've noticed is they actually changed all the screws, and I will get into that with another picture. Actually, I'm going to skip to this picture because that's actually something that's definitely worth noticing, or I think at least worth to talk about. So as you can see, there's quite a lot of nice pictures here. Of course, it is a nice car. It's actually got some nice features that I'll go into shortly. But for now, I just want to get into the engine bay and see what's up there, if we can find that. I have to do it this way because of my recording software that I'm using isn't letting me do it differently anyway. So this is, here we are, that's the fenders. Yes, this is a good picture. So you can see here, this black line is basically the sealant I was talking about, which is kind of, being pushed out of it, which, it's not a big deal really, but it's just, I think, a visual thing that could have been done nicer. But what I really noticed is that it has two different sorts of screws. Now, all of these screws that hold the valve cover down to the cylinder head are not the original ones. But not only that, they are actually different screws. And by different, I mean one type of screw is this one, and this one, and also maybe this one, which is a stainless steel screw. You can just tell. I mean, I'm a machinist, I know these kinds of things. You can tell that this screw is a different shade of silver than this one. These ones actually have like a blue shade to them, which is because they are actually steel screws, just standard grade steel galvanized screws, and these more silverly looking things are actually are actually stainless steel screws. So I don't know why they did that. I mean, this is of course a German car. I am from Germany, and I'm quite familiar with German hardware. And this is called a Zylinderkopfschraube, which is literally a cylinder head bolt. But it's not to be confused with a cylinder head of an engine. It's just the way that the screw is called because the head is actually like a cylinder. It's a round cylinder, so that's why it's called a cylinder head screw, I guess. And these are all hex type cylinder head screws, but they are of different materials, which to me is weird, especially because they seem to be scattered. I mean, this one and this one seems to be the same size. This, I guess, from just looking at it, should be an M6 screw, so a 6 millimeter screw, and these bigger ones are M8, so 8 millimeter. And I don't know why they did, the steel ones up here and then the stainless steel ones down here. Doesn't make sense. Another thing I have noticed is the exhaust manifold. Now, this is something that could be could have many reasons. One reason is the way AMG built these cars is that they actually had to modify the frame, or the car doesn't have a frame, but basically the frame rails that go alongside of the engine, because the new heads were actually so wide that they wouldn't fit a regular chassis W126 car. And so what they did is they actually had to cut out bits of the frame and had to weld in new parts, new plates, whatever, to get the clearance they needed for the four valve heads. And so, that's not really something that should happen at the factory, that maybe they, banged up this manifold while installing the engine. I think I think there's two reasons. One thing is it could be that the engine was out of the car at one point, because maybe because of some major repair, maybe some. I mean, it's a low mileage car. This car has just about 3,000 miles on it, but could be that it has been out of the car. Maybe the oil pan, a leaking oil pan, or whatever. That could be one reason for it. Another reason could be an accident, and that's something that I have noticed with this car. I mean, like I said, this is definitely a scrub mark where it seems like the engine has been out of the car or has just been moved slightly. Whether it is because of a crash impact or whether it is because the engine has been out of the car or has been lifted to get access to something that was maybe leaking or broken, whatever. I don't know that. But there's definitely a scrub mark here, and that's not the way that AMG would have done it from the factory. I mean, this was a very expensive car back when it was new, even more so today. And yeah, this is not something that would, meet their standards. We can move on, and then we can actually see. I'm going to put myself up here for a second. This, I guess, this front support, this radiator support, whatever you want to call it, this looks to be very new, and there's actually more pictures where you can see that. Let me see if I can. Nope. I'm just going to go back to this picture right here. So it looks like, I mean, this is supposed to be an original AMG car, an original 4 valve 6 liter conversion done by AMG back in the day, back when the car was relatively new. And all of these factory AMG builds have AMG stickers. So you would see like a sticker here or maybe here. I'm not sure on this W126, or maybe here in the middle, but it should have a sticker stating the type of engine it is and the spark plugs it requires. Basically, it's an AMG sticker, has AMG written on it, and they should be there, and they are not. Also, you can notice that the paint, as I was saying earlier, it looks very new, it looks very shiny. And, that's not something, I mean, yes, this car only has 3,000 miles, but It just looks too shiny to kind of be original. And also, I've noticed that these screws right here, if I zoom in here and I actually go down here, these screws right here, they are also new and they are not original, because as far as I know, these are, I mean, these are new screws. I can actually, I think there was a picture where you could see it more clearly, but they are not the original. Yeah, these ones right here. So the original screws, I think, would either be painted, but rather I think they were actually galvanized, but yellow, like a gold finish. And these are galvanized as well, but these are just, a satin silver finish, just a standard, a standard self-tapping 8 millimeter screw, or the 8 millimeter head. And that's not the right screw to be in there. Now, also, you notice the support, the radiator support itself is it looks like it's been freshly painted. You can actually see some marks here, which I don't know what they are from. Maybe this is where the original AMG stickers were, but you see this sticker right here. And this one is actually the original Mercedes sticker, as it says here, M117 E42 E50. So this is the sticker that would be on every factory Mercedes, not only the AMG ones, but every car with a M117 engine as a 4.2 liter or a 5 liter. And you can tell the sticker looks very old. It looks very, you know, rotten or whatever. So it doesn't really match the freshly painted radiator support. So that's something that also indicates that, either they replaced it, the radiator support, maybe they replaced it, or they just repainted it for whatever reason. But I don't think it's cosmetic, because the car is supposed to be a 3,000-mile car. And they don't rust like that. I mean, they do rust, but the radiator support, I don't think that's really, you wouldn't repaint that if it wasn't really broken. So I think that's something that also might be a hint to the car having had an accident. Now, so this is the original Mercedes stuff. This is nothing AMG special. um Here you can see one of these, the bolts I was talking about. This is a steel version, and here's also more of this sealant they used to seal the valve covers. Now, I don't know, I'm not a professional on these cars. I don't know if they actually have a gasket for the valve covers, or if they are just, if they use this sealant to seal them against the cylinder head. I don't know that, but either way, this is not a professional job. I mean, this is not a job worthy of a car like this. There shouldn't be traces of sealant anywhere. So that's just one of the things. Now, also, I mean, it does look pretty clean so far. Like I said, they changed all the screws of the valve cover. I don't know why they did that, but these are not the original screws. Um, no idea why they did that, but I guess they did. And yeah, so I guess that's the engine bay. It does have the 6 liter stamping, so that seems to be all correct. But all new screws, and the way they, this just, it's just, you can't do this with a car that's, worth over 500,000. I mean, that just doesn't seem right. And also the rub marks on the exhaust manifold there. I don't know about that. Anyway, let's go to the exterior of the car, and this is something where I'm not quite sure, but this front bumper, now you realize this is an original AMG car. It's a wide body car, so it has the wide body fenders. It's got the AMG bumper in the front, and it's got the AMG bumper in the back, as we can see on this picture right here. I was talking about the exhaust. Like I said, I'm not sure if that's the original one. It might be. To me, it looks kind of a little bit bigger than the original AMG exhausts were, but maybe that's just me. I'm not going to talk about that, because it's just an exhaust. But the front bumper doesn't look to be original, and there's actually no picture where you can actually tell if there is an AMG script right here in the middle. Now you might be able to see something here, but to me, I don't know. There is not a picture where you can definitely tell that, because usually there should be an AMG script embossed right here in the bumper, and it isn't. And I actually have another car right here. This is, I'm going to make myself bigger here. This one sold 2 days ago, actually, for 700. No, actually, it was estimated to sell from 7 to 900,000, and actually sold for 417,000. Which, of course, the market is going down. The bubble, I guess, is bursting, or already did, whatever. And this car had much more. It has 55,000 miles, so a lot more miles, but it seemed to be more together. I think it seemed like it was, a real package. It wasn't something you would be kind of, wondering why some things are the way they are. And you notice that this car has the AMG script right here, and this 86 500. It's hard to tell, and they don't have pictures. And I think that's so obvious because they actually made pictures from the fenders, which show the AMG script and the AMG part number, but they didn't do it. They said it's an original AMG bumper. It says so in the description, and apparently it has an AMG part number, but I didn't see a picture of it. And to be honest, and this is what my point is, I guess, is that all the, or at least the good imitation, or reproduction bumpers, or AMG aero kits or whatever, also have the AMG part numbers, because they actually bought the same moldings, the same forms, or yeah, the same moldings, I guess, um, from AMG or from Mercedes back then. And so they are actually pretty accurate, a pretty accurate replica of the original, and that's why they have the original AMG part numbers. But it doesn't mean they are the original bumper. And this doesn't go for every aftermarket AMG bumper. I'm sure there's ones that have made their own versions of it, but this just it seems weird that they didn't show that, because it's an obvious sign, and it's very easy to see from the outside without having to look inside the car, under the car, or whatever. And also, what's interesting is the way the bumper is formed here. Now I'm gonna zoom in a little bit, and I'm gonna put myself here so you can see me. Normally, the SEC, I mean, the original bumper has chrome trim that goes right here, and it ends right here, and it actually slides into the bumper here. Then there is this 89 model, which has, as you can tell, apparently it has an original AMG bumper, and this car seemed to be legit from what I was seeing. And you can see that this bumper is different. Now I'm gonna try to compare these. So you see this line right here that goes through all the way to basically the edge of the bumper here, to the wheel. The 86 model, this edge actually stops right before the bumper ends. So it actually stops before. And also this upper line here continues up to the edge of the bumper, and this one is kind of not really sharp, looks like it's kind of lost, like right before the end of the bumper. Then I have another 87 560 SEC AMG, this one. And if I zoom in here, and I actually need to make myself a little bit bigger here, but if I zoom in here you can see the way they've done it. And this could also be an original AMG bumper. I'm pretty sure they had different versions over the years. I'm not a professional. I don't know exactly, but I could imagine that they have different versions. And this is, I guess, a second version. I would say the first version, or this is actually an 89 car, so I guess this would be the later version. So let's say this is the first version, which is basically just this part that goes over the original Mercedes bumper. So it actually, you can see this part is the original Mercedes bumper, and this part, only this diffuser, air dam, whatever you want to call it, with the AMG script right here, goes over the original bumper. And you can see the line here where it is basically attached or matched to the original Mercedes bumper. Now the later one, this is again an 89 560 AMG. This doesn't have this edge, so I guess they either made a completely new skin, a new bumper skin, or they, maybe it wasn't done from the factory this way and some owner down the line integrated it, or it's actually from the factory and they just made a completely new bumper. Could be. I don't know. But what's weird to me is on this one, the 500 we were talking about, the 86 one, this is a completely different bumper. I mean, this looks nothing like the other ones. And it could be that there's three different bumpers, maybe. I don't know. But to me, this bumper, also the way that it's shaped and the way that this doesn't really line up. Now, granted, the other one also doesn't fit perfectly. I think on this 87, if I zoom in here, you can tell that it has quite the gap here. But it still looks better than this one. I mean, this one, the way this line is kind of, not exactly straight, to me, honestly, it looks like it's not an original bumper. That's my point. Let's go on. I have more. I'm going to put myself down here. And then there was a picture actually. I'm gonna stick to the outside for now because there is one detail that I think you would notice right away, and that's this one right here. Now, of course, the paint does not match at all. This is a 3,000 mile car. Now that doesn't say anything because it's still a 36, 37-year-old car. So, it has been around quite a long time, for quite a long time. So it could be that maybe it was sitting at some point of his life, and maybe sitting outside. Maybe it got dented. Maybe it got scratched. Whatever. I don't know. But the point is, it's definitely been repainted. And I would say, I'm not sure, but I think that this one, which is the rear of the car, this is actually the rear quarter panel. I would say this is the original paint. So I think the front part here, because you can see if you look closely, I'm going to put myself here. You can actually see some orange peel here, and it just doesn't look like the type of paint quality that AMG would do from the factory, or Mercedes actually would do from the factory. So I think that this door has been repainted. Okay, and it's a very bad. I mean, the paint job itself might not be too bad, but the color just doesn't match at all. And that's really, unacceptable on a car like this. So, all right, this is the exhaust. Like I said, it does say AMG, but I'm not sure because the reproduction exhausts also say AMG on them. And, they look quite original, but I don't think this is original. I'm not sure, but I don't think it is. Here we see the bumper again, and it doesn't really look very straight, and it's just confusing to me. Something about this car is just not the way I would expect a 3,000-mile car to be. Again, this is the front bumper. You can see it actually goes up here, almost against the fender here, which I don't know. It just seems kind of weird. Now I want to have another a look at the interior. This is actually a really nice option. I'm going to put myself over here. So this is actually a very rare option, which is a trip computer, basically. In Germany, it's called Reiserechner. And this is a very rare option. You can see it has the tachometer right here, and it has a digital clock because, of course, on the normal regular version, the tachometer would be this one, and then the clock would be a little analog clock in here. Well, since this is the computer, they've had to put the tachometer over here, and they put the clock in the gauge cluster as a digital version. Now this is very, very rare, and I haven't seen it on another AMG car so far. So I guess this is definitely a plus of this car, I guess. You can tell this panel, this switch panel here, is the way you actually use the trip computer. So that's, I guess, that's a nice thing, at least for me. I mean, I like the way that this looks, and I guess it's very rare. And also the way they've put the AMG script up here, because normally on the normal versions it's right here where the clock is now. But there is another detail I've noticed, which is this red LED, this red light, which indicates that the car might have had an alarm of some sorts. You can also see that down here in the carpet, there's another picture where you can see it more clearly. There is something here, I'm not sure what it is, but it doesn't look factory to me. And also this, I guess this sticker here they put on to, because the way the climate control works uh, isn't really very obvious how to use it, and it doesn't line up. Like, it should be. I mean, this might be from the factory. I'm not sure. This might actually be right, but to me, it should be more to the right of the car, more towards the passenger side, because you can see that the script and the buttons, they don't really line up that well, besides the temperature control, which is weird. But also you can see that the wood panel here, this one is actually, it looks kind of loose. It looks like it's actually like been, it's kind of like this, where it should be kind of flat. So that's just, a small thing that just happens over time. Nothing you can't fix, but still, it's supposed to be a low mileage, well cared for car. Yeah, I don't really know about that. Anyway, that's about enough. So my conclusion to this car, I think whoever is interested, I'm not in the market for this car. I'm just actually doing this for a friend who sent me this car and said, hey, look at this. It seems to be a nice one, low miles, whatever. And I had looked at this 89 model that just sold 2 days ago, like I said. And I realized the market is definitely going down for these cars, or for maybe, basically any car. And so I was, I'm curious as to, how much this will sell for. But he sent it to me and said, hey, look at this. And I was looking at it, and at the first overview, it looked really nice. I like the feature that it has this trip computer, which I don't know if it works, but actually you can repair these. So even if they don't work, it's usually one the electric part on the back of it. There's condensers, or whatever you call them, and you can change those out, and then they usually work again. But yeah, there were just some things that didn't really fit right. And also I think that this hood insulation right here, to me it looks like it's a new one. It doesn't look like it's the factory one. I think this might have also been replaced. Now I'm not sure about that, but it doesn't really look like. But maybe, I mean, that's something I actually don't know. I'm not, like I said, I'm not a professional on these cars by no means, but I have been around them. I have, seen them. I've actually seen an original AMG car in person, and which has been dismantled, sadly. But so I do know a little bit about them, even though I'm more of a BMW guy myself. But there's just, and these are the part numbers of the fenders. That seems to be all right. I mean, they are steel fenders. You're probably not gonna, replace those, or maybe. The thing about this car, and that's, my closing statement, I guess, is I'm suspecting that this car might have been in an accident. Now, I think it was a long time ago. I think, it was probably when the car was pretty new. And the reason I say this is because these cars were very expensive at the time. You can actually see the color difference even here. And the picture I showed you, the close-up one, is actually from the passenger side. So it has been repainted on both sides, and I guess both front doors, both fenders, maybe the hood, and maybe the bumper. And I think the bumper has been replaced. The hood, I don't know, could have been replaced as well. Um, so the car has been painted. And to me, that's just a strong indication that this car was part of a bigger accident. Now, as I said, these cars also, what's weird is the side skirts are missing. So this car has AMG front bumper, AMG rear bumper, the wide body, but it does not have the AMG sills, the AMG, rocker sill plate, whatever. Which is weird because it is a complete AMG car and it should have those pieces, but it doesn't. So there's parts missing. There's parts that are not original to this car. There is parts that are repainted even though they shouldn't be. And it's all in the front of the car. Now, what happened back in the day was these cars were very expensive, very valuable, and also at the same time bought by people who, let's say, had criminal tendencies. Let's just put it that way. And so what they used to do is they used to crash these things on purpose and used to do insurance frauds. And used to be a big thing with these cars because you could, I don't know, crash a Series One Golf or Rabbit, whatever, into them. Get a big paycheck from the insurance company, get the car repaired in some backyard mechanic shop, and get it back on the road and do the same thing again. And you would do that for 3 or 4 times, and you would have the value of the car. The car would basically be paid off. And so I think I know they did that, and I think this ar, especially because it's such low miles. Um, I think I don't know the owner. All right. Even though he's from Germany, I don't know him. I don't know who it is. I don't know. Like, I'm not a professional by any means on these cars. Like I said, I've been around them, but I can't really tell if, I don't know every single thing about these cars. But what's curious to me, and I'm going to go back here and go to details, um, is that this car has been it went to Italy pretty quickly, I guess. It was converted in July 86, or not converted. They don't know when it's been converted, but it has been registered in Germany on 16th of July 86, and by January 87, it had been acquired by a resident of Milan in Italy. I'm going to put myself up here for a second. And so the car didn't spend a lot of time in Germany. And now I don't know if this accident theory is actually, it's just something I'm going to put out there. But if the car, maybe they didn't repair the car the last time it was crashed or whatever. And I'm thinking maybe the crash happened in Italy. And maybe the owner that had it up until now, the German owner, maybe he actually bought it as a crashed vehicle and he did the work, he did the paint work and, you know, swapped out the parts that needed to be replaced. Maybe he did that himself. Maybe the car was in a bad accident before it left to Italy. So maybe it was sold to Italy as a salvage car or whatever. There is no real way of knowing, and this is the problem, I guess, or which also is part of the mystique of these cars, is that there are there aren't any records. You can't really tell. You can't tell what's happened to the car. All you can see is you have the Mercedes VIN number, and you can tell when this car was originally built, and then of course you can tell that It has been registered in Germany a couple months later, so that implies that it has actually been converted right after it was new. Now, they say that at time of its latest German registration, the car indicated just 4,700 kilometers. Now, this doesn't mean that the registration system in Germany actually has the mileage of the car. It doesn't. They don't ask you. Like, I'm in Germany. I'm 50 kilometers south of Frankfurt, and to register a car in Germany, they don't look up your mileage. That's not something. It's not part of the registration. You can't have a car's VIN number or a car's registration license plate, whatever, and go you know to the registration fucking people and ask them what the mileage was at any given ever. They don't have the mileage. That's not how it works in Germany. And also, these cars have an analog odometer, which is very easy to manipulate. So, and they have interiors that are made of very high quality, especially the seats, the leather. And you wouldn't know if the car has 5,000 miles or if it has, 3,000 miles, or if it has 30,000 miles, or if it's well cared for, if it has 100,000 miles. Those could all be true. So honestly, the car has been repainted in the front. The mechanical work that's been done to it hasn't been done in a good way. There is the scrape on the exhaust manifold. There is the new screws, I guess, on the valve covers, and the sealant that's coming out of them, which that's nothing, might just be some mechanic just didn't really appreciate the car for what it was, maybe just didn't care, whatever. But then that's another thing. The owner has had the car for 16 or 17 years, the German owner. And I guess, with cars like these, you usually know what you have and you usually know about the problems. And you know that these four valve cylinder heads are very, they aren't quite reliable. They can be, but some castings are actually prone to failure and they actually suffer from premature wear on the camshafts. And I guess that's a big problem with these. And so if you have the valve covers off, you should take a look at the camshafts. And even especially with a car like this, and especially knowing that you're going to sell it, you might want to take pictures and you might want to tell your interested buyers, hey, we've had the valve covers off. This is how the engine looks on the inside. You might actually take the camshafts out to see if they have, if there is something, if there is if they suffer from that problem. So, but I don't know if those pictures exist. Now you have to talk to the owner of the car. I mean, I don't know him. Maybe that's something, you know. I think that's something that if you're interested in bidding on this car and possibly buying this car, these are just a couple of things that I think you should look out for. It's been repainted. The cross member in the front, the radiator support, that's been repainted quite clearly, and the stickers are missing, and the old sticker that's on there is only the original Mercedes sticker, so that doesn't say much. The engine seemed to have been either out of the car or it seemed to have been shifted in a way where the exhaust manifold actually rubbed on, the side of the engine bay. So, and all of that, it's not really done in a great way. I mean, if you paint a car like this, you want to have a professional that actually gets the paint to match. And this, I mean, you can tell by this picture that the paint doesn't match at all. Now, sometimes pictures can be deceiving and it might look right in person. It might just be the lighting. But then again, these are pretty professional pictures, and I would say that usually it actually looks, from experience, mostly the car looks better in the pictures. It actually looks worse in person. So, you know, this is one of those mysteries. You just don't know. And I don't know how many records there are of this car, but I'm guessing not many, especially if the car was in Italy, then it came back to Germany. Now, this guy had it for 17 years, so he might be able to tell you some things that I don't know. But I think bottom line is you should be careful with this. It's a low mileage car, yes, apparently, but there is no documentation as far as I'm concerned to actually provide information that confirms the mileage, because these cars are very easily, very easy to manipulate. And for all I know, it could have 80,000 miles. Then the accident, the possible accident, you might want to look out for that. Missing side skirts, not original front bumper, possibly. And, then the engine bay, and you might find even more things. And the interior wood panel, but that's not a big deal. So that's all from me. Thanks for enjoying watching me ramble on for this long. And yeah, see you soon.